climax of the Paratour weekend, the Privilege Insurance British GT Championship. Now, as you can see, it's starting to rain, so you never know, we could have a Joe car leading the field. Now, unlike cars, these guys also have a rolling start. Perhaps Ben and Martin can tell us why.
Thanks, Amanda. Yes, Ben, this is a common sight in the States. Kart and NASCAR both use a rolling start, but why over here?
Well, with the GT cars, Martin, you're talking about a huge amount of power. They've got around 600 brake horsepower. They're on big, slick tyres. Once those are warmed up, huge amount of grip. And if you try a standing start with all that power and all that grip, all you end up doing really is breaking drive shafts and gearboxes. A rolling start, therefore, is much safer, cleaner way of getting these big cars underway.
Well, we're ready to go. They're in a very neat 2x2 formation. They should get the green light this time, no problem at all. And hopefully feeding in all that power, not gingerly. Oh, look, big snap sideways from the second of the Vipers. But it's Rob Wilson who dives into the lead. Looked as though the Lister Storm had the initial advantage. But I think Rob Wilson with the inside line managing to keep the throttle open a fraction longer. But streaming wet conditions like these, horsepower can really be a handicap.
Well, it can in some ways. Yes, we're on board with Kelvin Burt here in a GTO class car. That's less powerful. But look, it's right up with the front-running GT cars. That's because it puts the power that it does have down extremely well. So he's accelerating down the Revit straight. They're building up to about 160 miles an hour in the dry, at least, here before they get on the brakes. And look at that. He's down on the brakes, down the inside of Michael Caine in the TVR.
Robust move to take second place. Caine is third, Warnock's fourth, then a gap back to Ben Devlin in the second Viper. Adam Jones right behind him, then Adam Simmons in the blue and white Porsche. And if you look further back, there's the rainbow Marcus of Ian McKellar Jr., who's racing this weekend at Donington Park as well.
That means he had to start from the back of the grid because he didn't qualify here at Snetterton. Look at the conditions, look at the lack of visibility as he tries to get past the Tuscan R just ahead of him. That's Steve Hyde, and Hyde moves to the inside, so McKellar coming around the outside, down towards Russell then, and Adam Jones always across the grass in his attempts to get past Ben Devlin in the Viper. Adam Jones onto the grass, over the curve, bumps back onto the circuit and carries on, but he's lost several places.
Rob Wilson leads in the Viper, Kelvin Burt in second place, Michael Caine's TVR in third. Fourth place, Dave Warnock in the black Lister Stormer. Look at Callum Lockie on the left-hand side, the turquoise Porsche right down the inside, and he goes past Adam Jones. That's some bravery there from the reigning champion.
We're back on board with Ian McKellar chasing after Sean Balfe in the Paragon Porsche. And they're coming through the tight right-hander at Sear now. Now, critical to get on the power smoothly. Try and feed it in, not too much sideways. Both of them were very clean out of Sear, not too much shaking around, and now McKellar gets all that power onto the road and accelerates past Sean Balfe. Good move, and that pulls him up into 13th place now.
Dave Warnock in third place, safely through the S's, but a battle further back, the black Porsche. Look at that, that's Adam Jones down the inside of Ashley Ward in the white TVR. There's the collision. Oh dear, and Ashley Ward's been hit as well by Ed Horner's Porsche as he spun round, and that's destroyed the back end of the car.
Well, that's certainly rearranged things, isn't it? Rob Wilson is up front. Look at Kelvin Burt in the GTO class car, remember. Fighting along in second place, chased by Michael Caine, and then Dave Warnock in a rather lonely fourth.
And look at Callum Lockie, the GT2 Porsche, the same class as these big cars, squeezes down the inside, just finds the room somehow to pick up the places. Oh, Mr. Gear or something there, I think, and drops back.
I tell you what, Ben Devlin did a great job to see him coming there.
Well, Ashley Ward's struggling back to the pits. He won't be seeing anything out of the back, and nobody will be seeing him. No high-intensity rear light either, so let's hope he can get off the racetrack nice and quickly. But what about Callum Lockie? Picks up another place there at the end of the straight, and Ian McKellar Jr. also coming through in the car, well, similar to the one Callum Lockie drove to the championship last year, the Rainbow Marcus.
Now we're on board with Kelvin Burt along Revit straight. He's got a fairly clear view in front of him, not too close to our race leader, but now he's been passed for second. Oh, and he says there are yellows. That shouldn't have happened, he says. There was a yellow flag. Michael Caine has moved into second.
Well, Michael Caine in the spray behind Kelvin Burt, if he was in the slipstream, may not have seen yellow flags. Well, Kelvin feels that he was passed unfairly, and I don't think that Michael Caine would see it the same way. And there's a little bit of Ed Horner's Porsche. Come back with the remains of Ashley Ward's TVR into the pits. Then I think we ought to take another look and see what happened in that one.
Well, it all started with Adam Jones trying to get down the inside of the second part of the S's. Jones in the Porsche, trying to sneak down, bit of contact made, Ashley Ward's car spun around. Now, he didn't hit the brakes there. Sometimes it's the best thing to do. Sometimes you can roll out of the way. In this case, of course, he collided with Ed Horner.
And there's another damaged car. That's Marcus Fothergill. He's backed it off out of the bomb hole. It's exactly what all the F3 drivers somehow managed to avoid. It's all still running.
And now we switch to Kelvin Burt once again. Now, still in this battle with Michael Caine. Remember, Caine got past him on the way down to the S's. Now we're on the opposite side of the track as they head up towards Riches. Still very, very fast indeed up here. Onto the brakes for the double apex right-hander at Riches. Kelvin's not quite close enough to get up the inside. Trying to get a good exit here. Watch him working at the steering wheel. These tricky conditions mean the car is sliding through every corner.
Well, he's trying to set himself up to come out behind Caine onto the straight. He's got good drive, but still, it seems to be drying out enough for Michael Caine just to ease away. Let's see how it's for Ian McKellar. He's closing up on the Lister of Dave Warnock. Down the inside he goes under braking. Warnock closes the door, and that's a mistake by Warnock. He didn't really have the corner to be able to go over to the apex there. And although McKellar was only partly inside, Dave Warnock really could have done without that problem.
Yeah, he's got it running again, so he is going to rejoin, but that really throws his race. I mean, he was the winner at Silverstone, but I don't think he's going to have much chance from back there at Snetterton.
Well, Kelvin Burt under pressure now from Callum Lockie, and it really does seem, I think, Ben, that the conditions are starting now to favour a bit more horsepower. Callum's car is a GT car. It's got more power, it's got bigger wings and bigger tyres, but it's able to use that power to get past Kelvin.
Let's take another look at Callum when he went down the inside of two cars. The second one was Ben Devlin. Devlin saw him coming, moved out the way. Callum got down the inside nicely, and then he seemed to miss a gear, run over the curb, looking down at the gear change perhaps, and then he lost the place again.
And it looks as though Callum isn't going to be content with that. This is for second place. He dives inside Michael Caine in the TVR Speed 12. Now again, he's got less power than Caine to deal with, so at this stage in the race, perhaps that's an advantage still for Callum Lockie.
Remember, these Porsches are rear-engined as well. You've got the weight over those rear wheels that are doing all the driving, so a Porsche works well in the wet and really drives off the corners.
Hugh Chamberlain, the Viper team boss, talking tactics with Tim Harvey, his number 2 driver, discussing perhaps when they're going to make a change, because they may need to change tyres as well.
Callum Lockie then on a charge, the reigning champion with this one-off drive, and I have to say I'm very, very impressed with what he's doing out there.
He really is having a great time throwing the car around. Now here's Kelvin Burt's partner, Marino Franchitti, being beautified by ex-Formula Ford sparring partner James Courtney before he takes over the GTO leading Porsche. Thanks, mate, he says.
Yeah, I can imagine he could be a bit nervous. Kelvin is doing a fine job out there. Marino's going to have to try and keep that car in position. Meanwhile, we're looking at the Tuscan R here. That's the car of Steve Hyde, and battling with David Jones' Porsche this time. Jones, I think, is going to have to battle hard on the brakes as they come down towards the S's. Hyde trying to go around the outside. Well, it's a fairly simple job in the end. He brakes a bit later, gets in front and takes the place.
That's 13th place, changed hands there. Sean Bell follows in the Porsche. And down the pit road comes Dave Warnock to the Lister crew. Now they're one of the best teams in the pits. Normally cars are stationary for about 15 seconds. Let's see how they do.
Well, we've got the stopwatch running on this one. Now remember, this team won last time out at Silverstone, but they did suffer the big spin we saw in this first stint. Mike Jordan gets underway, and that was very fast. That took them only 12 seconds this time.
Well, that's an excellent change. Rob Wilson comes into the pits, and that means that Callum Lockie should now take the lead as the 2 cars ahead of him are stationary on pit road. And I think that's well-deserved, Ben. He really has driven like a champion this afternoon.
Yes, I'm sure Dave Welts must be very happy to have offered the drive to Callum Lockie, who has starred in these conditions.
So Rob Wilson is out of the car. They're strapping in Tim Harvey, and Hugh Chamberlain's crew, very experienced. Away they go.
10 seconds slower on their pit stop, but nonetheless they should be in good shape. Rob Wilson had built up a very healthy advantage before these pit stops were made.
But still, it's Porsche's leading in both classes. Callum Lockie in the GTs, and still Kelvin Burt in the GTOs. Through Coram Curve, heading towards Russell, the final corner on the lap. And that's Michael Caine's TVR out front once more. The TVR on the brakes as Kelvin catches him up. Which way's he going? Caine heads into the pits.
Yes, he's gone into the pits, so Kelvin stays out a little longer before handing over to Marino Franchitti, and that puts Kelvin up into second place overall again.
Well, again, an impressive performance by Kelvin Burt in only the car's second race. The TVR is at a standstill. Now, last year, their very constricting door roll bars made it a very slow job changing over drivers. This year, much quicker. Let's hope the door stays on, though.
Yes, we saw the problems at Silverstone, and as we heard, just a 50p part. Let's hope it's okay. They pat the door. It is okay. Oh, but he stalled it. Bobby Verton Rowe has stalled it as he tries to get out of the pit lane. Very quick recovery there. and they rather spoilt that because it had been a great stop, just 16 seconds stationary up to that point.
Well, as he leaves, the race leader exits the bomb hole. Callum Lockie charging on now. We all know that Dave Belts is not as quick as Callum, and that means that the longer Callum can stay out at pace, the better a chance they've got. But that's the TVR. Bobby Verden-Rowe, freshly out of the pits. He's found a molehill. He's made a mountain out of it somehow. What on earth has happened?
Well, the safety car has come out. No doubt that's because Bobby is off at the side of the road. And that slows everybody down, of course. They all get a little bit of a breather. I don't think it's going to help Callum Lockie so much, though, because Callum had built up quite a bit of a lead in front of the GT cars, and now he's going to lose all that.
Exactly right. Well, let's have a look at Bobby Verden-Rowe going off. Loses it at the S's. It's all under control. So now what happens? My goodness, the floor came loose at the front and dug into a huge, great wedge of Norfolk, and that's what's propping the car off the ground. What a bizarre crash.
The car was bad. It didn't actually particularly handle brilliantly, so I radioed in, but the radios we were having problems with, so Bobby's obviously gone out and been one of the last of the late breakers, and just came off. So nah, not a good Easter.
Bad luck.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
So Callum Lockie heads into the pit lane behind the safety car. Now, this is a double-edged sword because he won't lose so much time in the pit stop, but that huge lead, Ben, has evaporated. They were right behind him there.
He's not the only one in. Look, Kelvin Burt, the leader in the GTO class, also in to hand over to Marino Franchitti. So we'll see this from the onboard camera, and they rip out Kelvin's extra seat, and then Marino jumps in. Meanwhile, Callum Lockie has jumped out of the number 33 Porsche, and Dave Velts is getting in. Callum's helping, but there seems to be a little bit of delay. Now, the gentleman leaning over the door there is the scrutineer, and he is not very happy about the belts being securely fitted. He's saying they're still not securely fitted. He's getting Callum to come in and put them in properly. Finally, oh no, Dave stalled it after all that. A long stop. Callum's done all that hard work. A long, long, long stop for Dave Velts.
No such problems, though, for Marino Franchitti. Back on track ahead of the Lister, and look at the gap he opened up ahead of the pale blue Porsche, and he will be bedding himself in. Amanda, though, is with his partner Kelvin.
Many, many congratulations. That really was a sensational drive.
Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. And timed the pace car just right, not that we did, it's just luck. But car feels good.
Well, you've handed over to Marino now. Do you think he's going to hold it together?
I hope so, I hope so.
They're all behind the safety car. Ed Sharp with the Ultimate, Mark Sumter. There is Marino, and there is Mike Jordan, of course, in the Lister Storm, right behind him, and all running very slowly.
Interesting to see what Mike Jordan will be able to do once the restart comes. They lost a lot of time when that car went spinning at Riches. Now the safety cars allow them to all stack up. Tim Harvey sets the pace as the green flag flies once again, and he will restart this GT race, see what he can do in the Viper.
Well, he was nailing it right out of Russell because he was spinning the wheels up there, and you immediately saw Mike Jordan coming down the inside of the Ultima, trying to get through this slower traffic and catch up with Tim Harvey. He doesn't want to be held up by the GTO cars, but he can't avoid it. He got past Marino Franchitti nicely. He's got Sumter right ahead of him, but Harvey is away and gone, and this is going to be a real charge now for the Lister driver.
Yeah, here comes Mike. I think that once he gets the power down on the Revit straight here, it won't take him very long to get past Sumter. And we're on board now with Marino Franchitti in the Porsche GTO class leader, as he also attacked Sumter late on the brakes. And look, you could just see the other car, the Tuscan, disappearing out of the gloom. So Marino Franchitti getting past 2 in 1 there into the S's.
Threading a very tight line, and all dear Neil Woodford's Ferrari is off in the gravel.
Callum, having rushed to get here, that was pretty good.
Well, I certainly enjoyed it. Dave Velts and his crew have produced a fantastic car.
Now, you were holding it together sensationally in the wet there.
Thank you. Working hard.
Enjoyed it.
Yes, very much.
Thanks, Callum.
Thank you.
Now we're riding on board with former motorbike star Terry Reimer, battling for second in the GTO class with Martin Short in the TVR there. And, oh, look at that, that's Dave Velts in Callum Lockie's car, getting very sideways, out of shape into Russell, and the other two behind almost had an opportunity to go past. Those two behind the turquoise Porsche are battling for second in GTO. Back with Terry Reimer.
And in fact, Ben, this is 4th, 5th and 6th on the road as well. Reimer going for 5th position and second in class, and he's got it. Of course, Martin Short in the third different type of TVR. We've got the Tuscan R, we've got the Speed 12, and this Speed 6 as well.
There's Dario Franchitti, star of the Champ Cars in the United States, here watching his brother Marino Franchitti, still leading in the GTO class. And there we are, on board with Marino. Quick glance in his mirror. So far, he's doing a great job of backing up the hard work done by Kelvin Burt.
And their lead in the GTO class looks pretty certain to continue, but nothing is certain until the end of the race. This is the last lap, but Tim Harvey led until the dying stages of a race at Snetterton here last year in a Viper, and it broke on him, so nothing is for certain.
Well, we'll have to see if he can hold on to that. The checkered flag being made ready, and Tim Harvey and Rob Wilson together have done an extremely competent job, it has to be said, in very difficult conditions here this afternoon. Heading up towards the flag.
And in sight of the flag, he's not going to lose this one. The Chamberlain-Hales team celebrate. Harvey and Rob Wilson win it. They cross the line side by side with the GTO winning car as well, the Par Motorsport pair, Marino Franchitti and Kelvin Burt. Another impeccable drive for them to win their class. Paul Robe and his team are delighted with that. And Amanda is down with Hugh Chamberlain.
Well done, Hugh. Tim did an absolutely splendid job then.
Yeah, we didn't do badly, did we? The boys were very sad at not winning at Silverstone. We got a couple of things wrong at Silverstone, but we were fastest here all weekend, and it's always nice to know you can do it in the wet as well as the dry.
Victory for the Viper then from the Lister and Dave Welts and Callum Lockie's Porsche, with the Speed 12 and the Ultima the only other finishers.
The Porsches came out on top in GTO, but we had a TVR and a Viper going well in the top 6.
Well, Tim, well done.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. It was a long time coming. Rob drove a great stint in the first place, and I was just having lots of fun out there. In fact, Hugh came on the radio and said, "You better concentrate, son," because I was just playing, I think.
I was driving as hard as I could, and then last couple of laps, the TVR was really getting in my way, but I just kind of stayed behind them rather than do anything silly.
There's a four-way tie at the top of the GT Championship, with Callum Lockie the champion ahead of the TVR pair.
Kelvin Burt and Marino Franchitti lead in the GTO class, with the TVR of Martin Short and Rob Barth breaking up the Porsche monopoly.
Eurosport at Silverstone for the start of round 4 of the FIA GT Championship. The cars being led round by Mike Hazemans. The onboard shot from the Ferrari on the second row of the grid. This is the number 5 car being started by Italian driver Mimo Schiattarella. So Jamie Campbell-Walter, the reigning FIA GT Championship, on the outside of the front row of the grid on his home circuit. Mike Hazemans on pole position, who is going to win the drag race down to Copse for the first time. Hazemans controlling the field. The safety car has pulled off. They look relatively well placed. Julian Bailey hanging back in the Lister on the left-hand side of the picture. Now he gives it the car, and look at that. Julian Bailey driving around the outside of the yellow cars, the Belmondo cars, goes between them. He's up to third, looking for second place. No, he's trying to hold on to third as one of the Belmondo Vipers goes down the inside of him. A little bit of bumping and boring behind the second car's Port Holland Viper, and Jean-Pierre Jarier moving up through the slower away NGT cars that started in the top dozen. But it's Mike Hazemans that leads. Jamie Campbell-Walter in second place. Third place, it's Anthony Kumpen-Shorley in the Belmondo Viper. Fourth is Julian Bailey. There you see it. Bailey in fourth place, up from eighth on the grid, sixth place on the grid. So good start from Julian Bailey between the Belmondo Vipers. But look at Mike Hazemans, the Carsport Holland car, 1.4 seconds quicker in warm-up. Now, we know that they've had fueling problems again this weekend, David. I wonder whether the car is now absolutely running at its maximum potential. It certainly looks quick now.
It certainly does on that start. They really got away off that line and down to that first corner first.